Journey is usually the part that you remember anyways. You know, I mean, I remember that you remember anyways. You know, I mean, I remember you remember anyways. You know, I mean, I remember you remember you remember.
The following program is rated TV MA LSV. It contains strong language, sexual situations, and violence. It is intended only for mature audiences.
Everybody, we're at our show Planet Ratchet, and today we have a special guest and also my co-host Jessica. Do you want to introduce the guest for us real quick?
Absolutely. So this is my friend Sarah Alpar. We met through a mutual friend. She was here in Wichita, Kansas with me, and she moved back home to Oklahoma, and they are training partners. So we kind of met a roundabout way when I was getting ready for a fight camp. She invited me down, said, hey, I've got some girls for you to work with. And so Sarah and I have worked together a couple times now.
How's it going? How's everybody doing?
On. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Tell us some more about yourself.
Oh, the ultimate question. I fight. I like fight. You know. I'm a fighter out of Oklahoma City. I'm from Amarillo. That's actually where I'm at right now. I'm visiting family and watching my parents' house. And out here training for a little bit. Yeah, they call me Too Sweet. I don't know. I don't know what else to know about me.
Is that your fight name?
Yeah, yeah.
That's cute. I always love it when people have like non-aggressive fight names.
Oh, it's the best too because it's like that alter ego, like that name, like Too Sweet, and then you get in there and you're like blah, you know.
So one thing we want to talk about today is like something we don't usually see get brought up a lot when it comes to like combat sports, but it's something that's pretty prevalent, and a lot of the athletes know somebody who has been through this or has experienced it themselves on doing really dangerous or extreme weight cuts and having that affect their self-body image and even possibly causing body dysmorphia later on in their career. And we're going to actually have some clips of some fighters that actually give us a little bit of experience they have with it and the extreme weight cuts that they were a part of.
This is Roxanne the Happy Warrior Modafferi. I fought for the UFC, among other promotions. I fought at flyweight, which is 125. I usually walked around 140 or 142. I dieted to about 138 or 137 and then cut about 12 pounds of water.
Hi, my name is Dr. J, aka The Doc, also known as Jessica Smith. I fight for BYB Extreme. and I typically walk around at about 151 to 152 pounds, and my usual weight cut is approximately 5 pounds or so.
What's up, guys? This is Jessica the Black Widow Borga. I have fought for Bellator, BKFC, and multiple other promotions. Weight cutting, I don't cut more than 10 pounds anymore.
I cut 15 and even up to 20 pounds.
My name is Stewart. I fight for the BKFC, and I cut roughly 20 to 30 pounds for every fight camp.
I normally cut about 20, 25 pounds. Chancey Super 5 Wilson. I fight for Bare Knuckle FC. I cut about 5, 6 pounds.
How much weight do you usually cut when you fight?
25 to 30 pounds.
Hey guys, Stephen Wynn here. I'm going to address my weight cut and stuff like that. I'm a featherweight and I cut about 30 pounds. So I start my camp out about 8 to 10 weeks out from 175 to 145.
What's up? This is Mark the Shark Irwin, the king of BYB Extreme Bare Knuckle, reigning, defending, inaugural lightweight champion of the world. And typically at the start of camp, I'm about 160 to 165 pounds, making my weight cut anywhere from 25 to 30 pounds to make championship weight.
Weight cutting and the issues that come along with it. So I had a weight cutting issue that had happened. It's pretty unfortunate. I'm notorious for on the Ultimate Fighter, where I did not make weight. I ended up passing out trying to make weight, and it essentially put my career on hold and gave me a rough black eye that lasted years and years and years. And realistically, I hear about it every once in a while now, but the weight cut is such an issue. But I will say that when I had my air with it, it made me ensure that every time going forward, I wouldn't do a heavy cut. I did a heavy cut for a long time. And I have seen many wrestlers and those that weight cut through their entire life have weight issues because it does mess with your metabolism. And then the unfortunate part about combat arts as a whole is people are always going to find some reason to say something negative about you.
So that's what we brought our guest on. She's got a lot more knowledge on than we do. I've just been watching a lot of food docs and figuring out how even if you do try and eat healthy, it's a pretty much lose-lose situation because the stores are lying to you about what's in the food.
Yes, food here, like in our country, is just insanely different from anywhere else you go. All right, this is Isaac, the honey badger Doolittle. What's your experience been with your weight cuts? Does it affect you mentally like we've been talking about, or is that a little different for you?
I mean, weight cuts are always taxing. It doesn't matter who you are. Originally, I used to fight at 185, so it wasn't too terrible. I just cut my my food intake down a little bit. I eat probably way too much, but I just cut it down a little bit, and there wasn't really, actually, when I first started weight cutting for BKFC, there wasn't much of the hula hooping. Once I went down to 175, that was a lot more difficult.
I actually just watched a like a little short clip online. It was like an article where this athlete went overseas, didn't change his diet, didn't change his calorie intake, just moved overseas for whatever the season was, whatever sport he was doing, and lost a ton of weight just because he was somewhere else. It's insane.
Wow. Man, that's crazy. Like, didn't change anything at all. And
no. Like he was in France. He said he was eating all these pastries and like just all this delicious fresh French food, all these carbs and sugars, but was still losing weight because, you know, they have laws against some of the stuff that's in our food here, which is
I actually worked in some food industry kind of type stuff. It was a factory farm, to be specific, and we had such strict regulations only because we shipped internationally, because the European laws are a lot stricter on what they allow their citizens to eat versus what we were allowing.
That's crazy.
It's crazy. Man, we could go into like a huge rabbit hole.
Another episode tangent.
Yeah.
I could go on with
those. I think our brains do that. We're like, squirrel. So you have fought for a lot of promotions. Recently, you did a stint with the UFC, and you don't fight at that weight anymore right now. You want to talk about that a little bit, kind of just what that was like and why it just was uncomfortable for you?
Oh yeah. I mean, okay, so I was having trouble with my body when I received my UFC contract, and that was 2019. And even before that, but I wanted to be in the UFC so bad, so incredibly bad, like every other fighter, like everyone else, that it was like, whatever it takes, I'm going to get through it. But for a long time, like I couldn't get below 160, and that's like I'd be sitting at that weight having to go 135, and then I went 125 for my last bout with them, because after I won the Contender Series, Dana was like, well, I think you'd be better at 125. The way he put it was pretty professional, but I think what he wanted to say was like, you're pretty thick, you're a little chubby, you need to go down 25, is what I feel like he would really, like actually want to say. But I couldn't do it. Like I got my contract with them, and then I got help with the PI, which they did a great job. They're super nice, very helpful. But I was like, I can't go 25. I can't. We have to go 35. There's just no way. But I mean, I could go on and on with all that, and why I think we need, weight classes in between, and what would help with all that, because that 10-pound difference is crazy. And
well, even like you're saying, being pressured to like go down weight classes, there isn't a whole lot of spotlight for the female heavyweight fighters.
Yeah, well, and even for the females, there's like the weight classes itself that tops out at 145. So you have these Amazon ladies sitting at like 180 trying to go 145, which is, I mean, that's just completely dangerous. First off, and for women, we're supposed to have, some fat on our bodies. We're meant to make babies and reproduce, and to be athletes, it's already like, you're looking at amenorrhea, and like losing your period, losing your cycles, or training hard already. And it's just like there's unrealistic expectations for athletes, especially these ones in these weight classes that we're having to meet. It's just
right.
It's sad.
So physically, I know that was very hard for you. Like physically, it was rough. Mentally, was that as equally as just terrorizing on your body?
It was a mind fuck all the time. And we were talking about body dysmorphia and just like disordered eating. I didn't have an eating disorder, but I had disordered eating.
Right.
And I was constantly in a state of thinking I needed to be eating 1,600 calories, which is like what you basically need to survive, for your body just to function properly. So you think like as an athlete and working out twice a day, eating that little, like I was just kept putting myself in this big spiral and stuff. And nothing was getting better.
And you mentioned you did like a 40-pound weight cut your last fight. So like how obsessive were you with like keeping track of everything that was intake?
So for my last fight that I competed in, for that one, that it was just, I mean, constantly weighing every single thing out, doing everything. And there is like, when we're in a fight camp, there's like certain strategic things and elements to do, and I feel good doing that and preparing for it. But there's a fine line, like when fight camp's over, it's kind of like I'm having to remind myself, like, you're not in a camp, get back into balance. You're not in this. And like my last fight, my weight cut went really, really well. I was supposed to fight at 135, and I've been sitting lower. I had to get myself like balanced and normalized, and that one went great. But even after that fight, that didn't happen.
That was supposed to be your boxing debut, right?
Yeah, that was for the boxing debut one. Yeah. And even after that cut, like leading up to it, it's still, I had to remind myself, like, you need to get back into balance. You need to pick up your calories again. You need to get this. And mentally, I still had this dopamine hit where I just crashed for 2 weeks, even though I didn't even box or fight, just the lead up to it. I was still exhausted. So again, I really had to remind myself, like, it's okay. Like, you're doing fine. You're still an athlete. You know, you accept your body where it's at. You're going to gain weight again. You're not going to look like you do now. Like, having to literally speak those words and keep myself in check, because you get so consumed and like, wow, okay, I actually have abs. Oh, I'm really lean. Like, look at me, and then you get the outside attention too. So yeah, it's a mind fuck. And I think like I don't want to just like project it to women, because I feel like even like guys, like bodybuilders and men, they have, a type of body dysmorphia too. Like, oh, I need to be bigger. I need to be bigger. I think we all go
It's actually called bigorexia. There was actually a documentary I watched not that long ago on it, where guys are obsessed about getting bigger and they feel small even when they are just packed with all these muscles, and they feel like really self-conscious about that.
Oh, that's interesting. What'd you call it?
Bigorexia is what the term is for it.
And yeah, it's crazy. So it's just, we're just, I don't know, fucking ourselves up trying to try to meet these expectations of what the outside world and like social media and stuff and what we want to look like, where it's not real.
That really resonates, because I go through that same cycle. I cut down for a fight. I don't cut a ton of weight. 10 to 12 pounds is typically what I try and cut, like no more than that. And I've usually done pretty good at that. But you're right. Like, you get the day before weigh-ins or the morning of weigh-ins, and even though I might feel drained and tired, I'm like, man, this is what I should be looking like. This is what my body is capable of looking like. And this is how I'm supposed to be. And then I get done with the fight, and I've been restricting myself for, however many weeks, because I like to taper my cut. I try not to sweat in the sauna. Like, I try and 1-2 pounds max. I try to not sweat off my weight. I cut it the right way. I taper down. I count my calories. And then I get done. I'm like, okay, I can eat food now. And then I keep eating food, and I keep eating food. And, 2-3 weeks after my fight's gone by, and I'm starting to physically see the difference. And then I get in my head, like, what the fuck's wrong with me? Like, what am I doing to my body? Like, this isn't what I'm supposed to be doing right now. I'm eating all this junk food, and it's just, and then I get a fight contract, and I'm like, okay, I can do this right again. And then it's just never ending. It just over and over again.
Yeah. I feel like it definitely says a lot with like our society, when technically, like you're talking about your weight cut, like the day of, your body is sick, but that's what we're seeing as what it should be.
Right.
Even though it's when it's feeling its absolute worst. But because we have so much Photoshop photos when you're sick and in an extreme state like that, that's what those altered photos look like, because you're just nothing to you.
I struggle around food. I tell myself all the time, man, if I would just eat clean all the time, I could look like this all the time. But I don't eat that clean. I don't eat terrible, but I get on like these sugar kicks, because I cut out sugar during my fight camps. I cut out any like processed, refined foods that I don't need. And then afterwards, I'm like on this like sugar high. And then, once you start eating it, your body's like, hey, let me get some more of that. And then it just doesn't stop. Yeah. Like, I have the willpower to stop once I put pen to paper. But until that happens, it's just not there.
It's weird, because that's the only time I've been really strict on a diet is during a fight camp. Like, I've literally taken a bite of a donut and spit it out. Yeah. Because like I didn't know what I was doing. And I was thinking, like, that's not like how, like, somebody could be able to just eat that one bite and put the donut away and call it good. But I literally went to the garbage and spit it out because I thought it was gonna like affect my fight somehow.
Yep. And I don't know if you guys have you ever had the dreams leading up to the fight on the weight, like you weigh yourself in and you're 4 pounds over or something, or even like after the fight, I'll have dreams about that where it's like someone's like, oh, you're fighting. I'm like, I'm fighting and get on this show. Like, but I'm so happy. What do I get to do? I'm waking up like, oh my God.
Well, like you mentioned earlier, I remember dreading like if my period landed on the week of my fight, so I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna be bloated. Like, it's gonna be so bad.
My last like 3 fights, it's a nightmare. Like, it is a nightmare. It is the worst. I'm having to, like, the day of weigh-ins, I'm having to call the, like, they have BYB has a women's coordinator. Like, so all the female fighters, that's your point of contact. And I'm calling her freaking out like, oh my God. And she's like, I got you. Like, it was rough. And Isaac's with me and he's like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what to do.
So curious, I've only fought at AME events, but where you guys have fought at, did they make you guys do pregnancy tests before the fight?
Every single fight.
Okay.
All of them.
It's a requirement by, I'm pretty sure, every single state agency.
Okay. I mean, it's good they do, but back in the day they didn't. Like, they no one cared.
Wow. That's crazy. Yeah. Yep. All of them. Like, here's your stick. Have fun. Hope you pass. Hope you study hard.
We have a commissioner here. He's he's an older man. He works for the athletic commission. I've trained with him. He's a black belt at a local gym, and he cracks me up because when he's around for like the local events, here's your stick. I'm not the father. And we're like, get out of here. Like, it just silly.
How many times have you told that one?
Right. Exactly.
Well, I remember the first time, because like I said, back in the day, like, it wasn't a requirement. So then I had an 8-year break. When I came back, the next event I was at, the doctor was like, yeah, so whenever you can give me a pregnancy test, like, just before the event, cool. I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, I just need a pregnancy test. I go and find like my buddy. I'm like, we need to take pregnancy tests? And I didn't. He's like, why would I know that? It was like, I always fight the guys, like, but they don't tell us that. So I had to go get one in the town of the nearby store, grab it, and then I find the doctor. I was like, hey, I got my pregnancy test. You gonna come in the bathroom with me and like verify? And she's like, no, you can come bring it to me. Like, you want me to walk around this event with my pee stick in my hand to come find you to show you? Thank you.
That sounds super organized.
My favorite's when you're cutting weight and it's on weigh-in day and they're like, can you do a pregnancy test? Like, you want me to pee on that? I don't have any pee to pee on.
I can't spit right now. My eyes are dry. Like,
do you know how this works?
Right. So I fought with the athletic commission in Florida. You guys have probably seen like my crazy outfits that I've been doing at my weigh-ins.
Yes.
So the one where I dressed as Lilu, I was taped in that outfit, like taped in it. Normally they do the pregnancy tests the day of the fight.
Yeah.
Like, you do all your medicals and stuff. And then the day of the fight, you get to the venue and they're like, hey, here's your stick. We were the day before, we were doing the media weigh-ins. I am taped into this outfit and the doctor's like, you need to pee. And I'm like, that's not happening until after I get off the stage. She goes, no, it's happening now. I said, it physically can't happen now. I am stuck inside this outfit. And I am so thankful. Like I said, the women's coordinator, I went to her, I was like, help me. And but because they wanted to leave, they wanted to get their physicals done for everyone and get out of the building. Co-main event, I think it was the co-main. I was either feature or co-main, but they had to wait till the very end because we were doing a like the panel where they were talking to everyone. They were so mad because they had to wait for me because there was no way I was not getting out of the outfit. It was not going to happen. It wouldn't have gone.
You could have like insert some like use the pee stick with your tampon.
Right? Like, because they were like, can you just like pull it to the side? I'm like,
yeah.
No. It was so tight. It was not, like,
why don't you put it on the floor and pee on it standing over it?
No, like I couldn't even like the fabric of my outfit could not move it. That's how like
it was. That's like, impressive.
Okay. So what was not impressive, Isaac had one job before I went up on that stage. He had one job, and that was to check my outfit, make sure it was fine, make sure nothing was hanging out anywhere.
No coochie,
Right. I couldn't see. And so a lot of people have seen the photo already, so I don't know why I'm so weird about talking about it. I get some of the professional photos back from the event, and I had the biggest fucking camel toe of my life.
Sell it.
Oh my God. Like I was like, oh my God, Isaac, you were supposed to check my outfit. And he was like, it looked fine to me. Like,
oh,
yeah.
so
So
kind.
before I shared any of those photos, I cropped and edited every single one of them because I was mortified.
That's fair.
Yeah.
But I never noticed, if that helps. And I love that outfit.
I'll take it.
Yeah, only the pervy pervs will notice
Right.
it.
They're the ones
that zoom in.
Yeah, they don't even have a Facebook picture, a profile picture. So,
Oh, so I do want to ask each of you, what was the worst weight cutting, like food advice you followed?
Yeah, you can go first if you want.
Okay. So my very, very first weight cut, I was in a gym full of big macho guys. I was still relatively new. I think I took my first amateur fight like a year into training, which is about average. You usually take your, about a year of training, you start getting your first fight experience.
Oh, I was stupid. I did in 2 months.
Oh, well, that's fantastic. So I'm a year in, and I'm in the gym, and we had some pretty big names in the gym at the time. Like I was training with, we had Stephen Wynn. He's done the Contender Series a couple times. I was with David Rickles, Chris Harris, Ty Ingram, all these Bellator guys. And I'd never cut weight before. When I first walked in the gym, I was almost 200 pounds. After a year of training,
really,
I was a very solid, like muscular 170. Because I started by lifting weights. That's how I started losing weight, was lifting.
I didn't know.
I would never guessed.
Yes.
Yeah.
David has seen the pictures of Fat Jessica. He can confirm. But so I was about 170. And when I took this fight, it was at 135 pounds. And I weighed about 170 when it was offered to me. And they were like, it's okay. Just don't eat anything. Drink a bunch of water. Just don't eat. You'll be fine. And so I just wasn't really eating anything. I'd take a few bites of some food. Like I didn't know anything about.
You just like taste stuff and spit it out.
Right, like I didn't know anything about counting calories. I didn't know anything about macros. I didn't know anything about nutrition at the time. I knew I got to lose weight. Mm-hmm. I'll just quit eating food. And so I barely was eating anything. I was just drinking a ton of water. And that's what these guys were doing is, they would, when they would get close to their fight, they wouldn't eat very much food. And then when the fight got there, they'd sit in the sauna.
Yeah. Wrestling. Mm-hmm.
Right. So as a man who's cutting 20, 30 pounds, these guys still use that method. I still see these men dying on the day of weigh-ins with their chapped lips, like their raspy voices. They still cut weight that way. Women's bodies don't work like that.
No.
I was severely dehydrated, and I got punched. Like it was an MMA fight. I got punched behind my ear, and like it made me so dizzy, like for days. Like I was concussed from that one instance, and I didn't even get hurt. Like I wasn't hit hard, but I had done so much damage to my body that it just hurt me, like internally. Like I felt fine afterwards. I'm like, whatever. But I realized, my equilibrium was off. I was dizzy, and I had to go to the doctor, and they were like, yeah, you're concussed. Congratulations.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really hard. And so I had to teach myself how to cut because, these are old school guys. They'd been doing this for years before I even got there. That's how they do it. And I didn't have anyone to teach me how to cut weight. So I had to learn myself. Eventually, I became a certified personal trainer. I became a certified nutrition coach. And now my weight cuts are easy. And that's why I kick myself, because I know I could maintain at a lower weight. I know I can maintain a more healthy body because I know how. I just don't have the willpower to do it unless someone's like, here, we're going to write you a check on this date. And I'm like, oh, okay. So yeah, I kind of had to teach myself after doing it the very wrong way the first time. It was awful.
Man. Gosh.
All right, go on.
Well, like because I have my wrestling background, like what Jessica was saying, kind of the old school, like I knew how to cut like that. But like I know in college, when I wrestled, it would be, like days and weeks of being just dehydrated the whole time and staying dehydrated and then not eating anything, and I took that into MMA, and I cut like that for a long time too, of like being dehydrated for days. But I mean, like I have to hit this number on this day, and then, I can drink a little bit, and the next day, like hit this number on this day. And then, so there'd be times when, like one time, I fought for King of the Cage, and I ate green beans out of like just a restaurant, green beans, but with like the salt and stuff in it. And it was just a little thing of green beans. It made me gain 3 pounds.
Oh gosh.
3 pounds. And I got on the scale, and I cried a little bit. And then I didn't have like the sauna suit stuff with me or anything like that. So we were getting trash bags, asking for trash bags and taping the trash bags to me. So good. And then we go down to the gym, and then my opponent is right there. And here I am, like running, just doing my sprints and everything like that,
So
like,
she like knows you're like trying to make weight.
Yeah, and she's like happily jogging, just
just jogging it out.
Like, hey girl, what's up? Yeah.
I had a teammate one time, and she said that she took a fighter to walk around weight. So she was just totally confident at the weigh-ins that she literally was wearing like a hoodie and sweatpants, and she was holding a water bottle. And as a flex, she walked onto the scale with her water bottle and still made weight.
See, that's the life I want.
So I've done that a couple times. I've taken fights at my walk around weight. And even though I felt great going into those fights, like as far as my body, I can't do that. I am too small because those women are cutting down and they're so much bigger than me.
And that's a game that they make them play.
I mean, and it was awful. One of them was extremely competitive. It was really competitive because I don't think she really cut much weight either. We both were at our walk around weight. So it was a very competitive fight. But the one prior to that, I'm fighting this huge name woman. Like she was like a 29-1 ISKA kickboxing champion. She was like a 12-3 professional boxer. Big name girl. We're fighting at 135. I think her normal fight weight was between 155 and 165. And she cut down to 135. I weighed in at 132. Wow. So by the time we got into the ring, she was at least 20, 25 pounds bigger than me. And when you're fighting bare knuckle, every single pound makes a difference. That was the only, for me, boring fight I've ever had. Like I don't put on boring fights. I never have. That was the only boring fight because the 2 times she hit me solid, I lost vision in my eye from a hook and she knocked my tooth loose.
Oh my God.
Just a jab. Yeah, she knocked my tooth loose with just a jab. And after that, I was like, this woman's legitimately going to hurt me. It's not like, oh no, I'm going to lose this fight. It's she's going to hurt me. And so I made it a super boring fight. I just kept burying my face, in her chest and just being very elusive from her punches. And I knew, which people give me shit because of this attitude. Like I knew I was going to lose that fight because I was worried about just not getting hurt. And I'm okay with that. I would rather be like, okay, nope, this one's not going to work. That's fine. But I want to be able to do it again. So I'm going to stay safe.
I feel like athletes need to have like a little bit more of that feeling of I can be a badass, but I don't have to be better than everybody out there. Like there's going to be people that can be, and I can like easily admit that.
Yeah. I knew that was not going to be a fight for me to push. Because I knew if she touched me clean, she was going to hurt me. So, and that's when I realized, and my manager, like everyone was like, you cannot fight at 135. You can't, you are too small. Even though I walk around at 135, like I could easily get a call and be like, hey, you want to fight at 135 tomorrow? Yeah, okay. And that's what I was doing. I was saying, yeah, okay. Because every fight where I fought at 35 was a short notice fight. I fought, Mitzi, that kickboxing fight we did, I think back in February in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
It was up at 35. And I know that she has to cut for that. So by the time the fight got there, she was a lot bigger than me. And luckily that was still a really competitive fight. It was a lot of fun. But, after doing that 3 times in a row, my manager said, no, you are too small for 135. And that blows my mind because I'm like, I weigh 135. That is what I naturally weigh. And so it's just really sucky that all of these women and the men collectively walk at a certain weight and they're comfortable, they're athletic, and they maintain this weight, but then they still cut 20, 30 plus pounds to compete. Like, it just, I don't know, it blows my mind.
It blows my mind that it's like, because I've talked about like, okay, if I'm sitting at this weight and my opponent's sitting at this weight, why can't we just be at this weight? Why do we both have to cut down to this? Oh, I'm like, it doesn't make sense.
It shows dedication.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. Like, we agree to the fight, you know, I agree, she agrees. Have the promoter, hey, what do you weigh right now? Hey, what do you weigh right now? Oh, you both weigh 132.
I've offered that. Yeah. Yeah, I've offered that. Be like, hey, I'm sitting here. Does anybody if you guys don't like to cut? Because I've gotten to a point, it's like, I don't want to cut weight. Well, you know, especially if with like trying to reinvent myself in these other areas like boxing and stuff like that. It's just like, if I don't have to cut, I'm not getting paid enough to put my body through that. And all these weight cuts and stuff. It's like, you know, I feel like that's where all my injuries and stuff really came from.
So do you know there's a promotion where you could get paid enough and they have a wider range of weight classes for the women, including 35, 45, 55. Do you know that promotion exists?
I feel like we've touched on this before.
So there's a promotion called BYB Extreme. And let me tell you, they have a place for you.
Oh, I still think about it. Okay. I still do think about it. You know, and at this point, because I'm not getting any competition, I just want to compete. It's like I'm 32. I'm having like a midlife crisis. Like, I'm not getting any younger. Something needs to happen. I need to do it now. Yeah.
I'm getting ready to turn 35. So I got
you. You get it. It's just like
Right. I got to do this now. Yeah.
And also, ironically, I'm 32 as well. But I feel like some of it is like I go to a fight and I see a bad girl fight, and it's like I could do better. I can go back in, do one more.
I could do that. Oh. So give me 3 reasons.
But I do feel like, when you're doing that weight cut and you're so dehydrated, you have way harsher injuries, and your healing process is way worse when you go into a fight sick like that.
Yeah. After my last fight, like my USC one, I ended up, my back I had disc herniation, and then both my labrums, both of them were torn, and my hips. So it's just why I really don't do jiu-jitsu and stuff.
I think
that's all. I think it's all cut and made. Being so dehydrated, everything. You know, the fluids in your joints, your muscles, you lose that. Like, what's there?
Well, I feel bad for fighters that have done weight cuts 30, 40 fights. Can you imagine what it's doing to their aging process?
I know fighters who are my age or even a little bit younger who have been fighting for way longer than me. I got in the game super late. I know people my age who have been fighting for 15, 20 years, and let me tell
punch drunk too.
I look younger. I look like the younger person because it's hard on the body.
Have you seen pictures of guys when they started and then when they're 40 and how their face has totally changed because of the scar tissue?
Yeah, absolutely. No, and that's, jokes aside, that is one thing I really appreciate about BYB, for example, is they have a wider range of weight classes for the women. Because there are other promotions, whether it's, bare knuckle, whether it's, MMA, that don't have that. Like you said, the UFC, they've got some bigger women, but it's not a lot. It's not a big division. And so that's really awesome that there are divisions out there that are really no, we want to expand. We want a broader range of people, because that really does take away opportunities when, there might be an extremely talented woman out there whose natural fight weight would be 155. Maybe
I want to see 180 women's division.
And that would be terrifying.
Yes.
That would be so scary.
That would be super cool.
Boxing has such a wide variety of women, so it's really hard to understand why these other promotions don't want that. But then that kind of circles back to something we talked about earlier. As you know, as female fighters, you know, we're either told we look like men or we're overly sexualized. And so, you know, the whole theory that I think a lot of these promotions have, because they're ran by men, is who's going to want to watch heavyweight women?
Well, and that's the problem, because I remember back when I started, they were saying all the time there will never be a pro women's division, that nobody wants to see women fight unless they're hot. And even then, like, nobody wants to date a woman fighter either. They have to date male fighters because it just looks like she abuses him, essentially.
You know, I can see that. I previously was married, and that was when I first started fighting, and he didn't like it. And I legitimately think it's because he felt emasculated because of it. I was in the gym getting in shape, being active, doing this really cool stuff. And eventually it came down to, you know, you either need to be a wife or be a fighter. And, you know, here I am. So I can see where that's a legitimate concern for some people, but I also just think those people are weak if they really feel that way. That's just nonsense.
Well, even not even just the emasculating, it's just the fact that a fighter is very dedicated to what they do. It's very time consuming. So if you need a lot of attention, that's not probably going to be your go-to.
Right.
Yeah, well, you better go to the gym too.
Yeah.
Right. You're married, but your husband doesn't do any of the competition stuff, does he?
No, not at all. He supports me. He's like, if you need to go train somewhere, go train, all that. But he's never put on boxing clothes, I think, a day in his life. I bought him a jiu-jitsu gi, so I was like, we can do this together. And he was like, nah. Do it. Like, and I mean, he's fine with that. You know, he works out in a different way, like more leisurely. He trains like the old people and stuff like that. So when I get stupidly injured, it's like old lady Sarah time. I'm like, hey, you know what to do.
Go get the heating pad ready.
Yeah. There's the aspirin. Menthol. I need menthol. Yeah. So, but like, he's never, other guys I dated, it's like they like the idea of fighting, but then they're like, oh, you roll with guys? Oh, I don't like that. Like, what do you think's gonna freaking happen, dude?
Yeah.
Well, I don't have a lot of
girls only.
Right. Well, and that's exactly why, like, I've come down to work with you guys a couple times, because we're few and far between. There's only one other professional female fighter in the city that I live in. You know, the city I live in is, I think, about 350,000 people. There's only two of us. Like, there's two of us. It's Jessica Middleton is the other one, but she's not even active anymore. I mean, she fought recently for LFA, but I mean, she's got a full-time job. She's a mom. I mean, she still trains, but you know, trying to schedule time with her was really difficult. So I traveled to fight. Like, I've come down with Sarah down to Oklahoma. It's necessity, because there aren't that many women. Luckily, I started at a gym. I switched gyms. Like, so I work at one gym, but I train at another. Because
she's a trader.
Right. So the gym I work at, they're like a big corporate thing. And so we're like a gym within a gym. So they're really like, I'm really hush about, like, I don't advertise a lot of my training just because
gyms are so political.
Oh, it's bad. All of them.
It's not. Like, we all cross train with each other. Like, all the coaches are supportive of it. Like, the fight community here is amazing. They, however, are like big corporate daddy. And so, but that's why I train somewhere else, because there's actually a ton of women who grapple over there. There's a women's only class, and it's fantastic because a lot of them are my size. And so I'm getting mat time in finally with people my size, my gender, and it's awesome. And so I really appreciate that. But when it comes to fight camp and training, there's one boxer here. She's still amateur level, but she boxes for she does the Golden Gloves competition, and she's a really good partner for me when it comes to boxing. But even then, she's still smaller than me, and you know, after a while, you get used to the same partners. So it's really limited here. So I think it is important to travel and go work with other women, because there just aren't enough. But that goes back to, you know, most of our training partners at home are men, and
Yeah.
can't deal with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
One thing I wanted to ask, and that's for women and men, do you feel like the fans are really not forgiving when the fighter's body changes when they retire out of fighting?
Yeah, I think fans are just like, I love the fans. For me, it's been weird, right? It's been weird, like suddenly going from just a local fighter in the Midwest to like people actually knowing who I am. That's been really strange for me. Like I have people hitting up my inbox and stuff like randomly like, we love you. And I'm like, what? So that's been weird for me. But I've noticed like when I fought Charissa Sagala, that people are mean. I'm not overtly feminine by any means. Like, you know, I'm a t-shirt, gym shorts kind of person most days. And so that was my first big name fight on a big name promotion. And in the paperwork, we're told you wear your fight gear for media weigh-ins. Well, I didn't realize that in reality, you could wear whatever you wanted, especially as a female. You could dress however you want. You could be provocative, whatever. So I'm there in my fight gear, and my opponent is in like lingerie. And so online, it was just insane. Like, oh, I think the man is going to win. Like, so I got called the man in so many threads, and not because I looked masculine, but because I was standing next to an overtly sexualized woman. It's fans are brutal.
Yeah, no, they really are. For my contender series, I was jumping rope, and then I had like comments on there, and my coaches and my age like don't read the comments, but I got like a couple of them. And they're like, "Where's her ankles at? She has cankles." And then, ever since then, I'm like, I do have big ankles. Damn it. But like really, you know, it just like, yeah. And just constantly, I got so much hate for being bigger and my body, like having more body fat on me. They're like, oh, you need to lose weight. Oh, this and that. But then it was on the other side when I weighed in, at 25 and I made it. It was like, oh, you cut too much. Look at you look horrible. It's like, what do you want? Like I did it. I did my part. Like I made it. It's just nothing is ever good enough. And there's always somebody who just wants to make you feel like shit and like wants to bring you down. I think they want some like form of you commenting back at them or something maybe, or they want like that attention to come back. But it's so dumb. And again, it's just like, this isn't the point, like, and especially what you're talking about with like sexualizing. I feel like a lot of the women, a lot of us are having to put out on OnlyFans because like I'm not getting paid for this, but this OnlyFans, I'm subscribing at that. Or just, I don't know, there's a girl, I won't say names, but like it was like her straight ass was up and down on a bicycle. I'm like, you're not even working out. This isn't your workout. You don't work out in that. And you know, and I was looking at the comments and I was like, oh, get some water. It's thirsty.
Well, and do you think some of it stems from, like you guys were saying, like when the weigh-in photos get posted, you get these section of trolls like, oh, they look like men, they look like men. OnlyFans, no one's saying that to you on there.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, it's crazy.
On one hand, like, you know, if these women doing that can make, you know, money off of that, like, I want to be like, heck yeah, good for them. But also, like, it's weird. I'm not sure how I feel about it because I think that's fine. If you want to do that, that's great. But also on the platform we have, I'm just like, really?
Yeah.
Want to do?
It's forcing others to have to feel like they need to do that in order. Like we have to meet that standard now instead of like, oh, well, if you want to do that, that's great. Yeah, you go do you. But now it's like, oh, well, she's setting the expectation. It's like, why aren't you doing that? Well, you need to get on it if you want to get money.
Right. Well, and some promotions I've seen, you know, they don't book fighters based on, you know, their tenacity, their skill level, the views they get because of their fights. Some of these promotions are booking female fighters because of their fan base. And a lot of times their fan base isn't because of their fight skill. And that's really discouraging because, you know, you're seeing some of these matchups for women and you're like, well, I don't know if this was the right match to make, but then you realize it was the perfect match to make because look how many viewers it drew in. You know, when viewership starts to trump the quality of the fight, you know, where something's gone wrong somewhere.
And that's one thing, now that you point that out, for mainstream, it's always female fighters that are hot. Those are the ones you see. Those are the ones that get pushed forward. But like, I want to see all women fight. And it's very limited now, and they're really picking and choosing.
I have pitched that idea to BYB, actually. I was like, hey, an all women's card would be amazing. And they like the idea. So we're like, right now, we're just trying to recruit more women, not specifically for that card, but just in general, we're trying to recruit more women because they want to grow the women's division, because we've got a lot of good, talented women. And that's one thing I like about, you know, the people I work for is they don't care what you look like. They don't care, you know, if you've got your butt out on the internet. There's a lot of women who, you know, fight for this promotion who, I don't want to say they look like fighters. They don't look like your OnlyFans models. They look like fighters. You've got some bad women on the roster, but it's not because, you know, they're showing everyone their titties. It's because they are scary women. And I love that. And you don't see a ton of that anymore. So I really like that there's still an outlier as far as that goes with, you know, it's not about what you do outside of the ring.
Love that. That's what I like about Invicta so much. It's like an all women's promotion, and they, you know, they match you up, each other up really well, and let's just let them be themselves. Yeah. So, and again,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just saying, and again, like I don't have a problem with these if that's what they want to do, and they have that. Like, I like to take photos of myself, like different poses and stuff like that. But
I feel like you need to, because when you get older, you want to reference those photos and just be like, what's all changed?
This was me at one point. Yeah.
My ass was here.
No, I love taking photos. I also just, you know, things are covered a little bit more than some. I have no problem. Like, you know, when we went to Puerto Rico, you know, yeah, my butt's out on the beach. I don't care. But, you know, that's our vacation time. You know, that's, you know, just us. I'm not like, oh, let me get the right angle for my ass for the Instagram. Like, I
need the likes, babe.
Right.
Isaac, come here.
Get under there. Just get in there. Yeah. You know, I have no problem, you know, showing skin, but I don't purposefully advertise the skin on the internet, you know. A big part of that, though, is I coach kids. Like, I work with kids.
Yeah.
And you work with, I mean, you teach, you work with kids also.
Yeah, I'm not trying to get sent to HR right now.
Right. And I feel like that's really important, that they see me doing good, positive things without having to, you know, sell myself short by, you know, getting fans the easy way. Like,
I just have to interject on that. Like, how awkward would it be if any of the parents of where you guys work was like, "Yo, yeah, I seen that post you did, loved it."
Right.
Super embarrassing.
Parent-teacher conferences.
Oh no. I learned the absolute hard way that these kids absolutely watch me when I'm on TV. The fight I was telling you about, with where I went up in weight and she was way, way bigger than me. I don't want to name her name because she doesn't need any more publicity. Just from day one, she had a very strange attitude. She was very weird. She just kind of was off the rails a little bit. And when we fought, like, just her mentality, her attitude, she was just so negative. But I figured when the fight was done, you know, whatever, it's over. I went to give her a hug and she shoved me at the end of the fight. So I've got two big middle fingers, like, in the ring, flipping her off, yelling at her from across the ring. And I don't do that. I'm all about sportsmanship, you know, and that sent me, because I'm like, look, we just went 5 rounds. We finished the fight. Went to and I get back to the gym, and a 12-year-old boy who I coach comes up to me and was like, Coach Jessica, I saw you flip her off. That was so cool. And I'm like, no, not so cool. And so then we had a little talk that day as a group about sportsmanship and how Coach Jessica did a very bad thing. And that's
did that though. You told him like, hey, listen.
Should always hug after. Should always hug after.
Yes. Well, and I felt like such a hypocrite because I'm like, sportsmanship. Fuck
I know.
you, sportsmanship. Yeah.
I'm one of those people, we can tap gloves with every round. I don't care. Like, I'm cool. I'm not going to do a sneak hit, but like, that's not everybody.
No, and I legitimately have pretty much made friends post-fight with most of my opponents. And at the very least, we've been friendly. And it blows my mind.
Everyone's got that one opponent they just hate.
Yeah. Yeah. For the most part. Absolutely. Like I've made I've met some really great women through fighting. Like, there's one woman, I fought her twice, like both times bare knuckle. One was MMA, one was boxing. And
that's fun.
Yeah, we've become super friendly. Like, we get along great. And I'm just like, this is so cool. This is how you build community. This is how you meet people, make connections. But then there's some people that go out there and they're just an asshole for no reason. Like, I don't get it.
We probably should wrap this up. We are kind of hitting that hour mark.
Oh, definitely. We're going to have so much stuff to clip. And
we barely touched on so much. There's so much
I know
about and to.
We definitely can carry this on the different aspects of things as well. Oh, I did want to ask you guys, do you feel like the weight cuts you did have a long-term effect on how you actually viewed yourself?
Ooh, that's a good one. When you say viewed yourself, like, can you explain that a little more?
Because I know it's like hard, like when you do a wake up, like you said, you see your body, how it is in that extreme condition, you almost kind of idolize it, even though, like I said, you're kind of sick at the moment. And then when you go back to being healthy, that doesn't feel like it's you anymore.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And especially like my other cuts, because I cut so much weight, my body, like I would make like one of my UFC fights, like I was 25 and then the next day I was 48 on that one. That's how much I gained. So already there was that, and that was just like a water gain. So then you actually put other foods in you, and then that effect on that, and your body, like it's to protect itself, it's going to give itself a lot of fluid. It's going to swell itself up. That's just what it does. And on top, after these big weight cuts, it's like you seem to just kind of easily gain more body fat, typically, if it's a hard cut like that anyways. So that tends to fuck with me quite a bit. And again, like you're saying, like idolizing, like that's, I have to constantly been like, I need to accept myself where I'm at. I perform. This is just a weight, but I'm an athlete and this is what I'm performing at no matter what I look like, because I tend to, really get caught up in like, oh yeah, this is what social media says I need to be like. This is what everybody is attracted to, instead of what I do and what helps me function, and what, like, no matter if I'm 55 or 35 or 45, whatever I'm sitting at, that's like I'm gonna perform great, so yeah, it's
definitely.
And I definitely commend like the work you put in, because like I've only had to do like a 5-10 pound like weight cut. Like it wasn't that big, but like it was not easy either. So I know like to do more, like that was definitely a lot of self-discipline. And I remember because I always fought like 125 around there, and for a little bit, like after COVID and stuff, I got to like 140, 145, and like in my mind I was like, oh, I'm thick now. But like that's just like how you like obscure your own thoughts on how your body's supposed to look.
Yeah, my self-perception is definitely thrown off in between fights, just because I'm like, okay, I'm capable of looking like this. I made myself look like this. So, but I walk around looking like this, and it's just a really back and forth comparison in my mind constantly of, I look great right before a fight, and I kind of, it's like I kick myself. I get in my own head about, oh, take better care of yourself. When in reality, I am taking care of myself. I don't always eat the best, but I'm not hardcore overindulging in anything. I'm constantly working out. Like I don't have really much of a different regimen in fight camp versus out. I'm constantly working to be fight ready. The only thing that really changes is my diet. And so my self-perception is really thrown off between fights because I do gain that weight back. And, I don't have the 6-pack abs in between. Like one of the first places the weight goes back on for me, I get like a layer of fat on my hip bones. And I see it. I know it's there. I can see the visual difference. And so when I start to see it, I'm like, what is wrong with me? Why can't I maintain this body? Like, why can't I stay looking like that? And so it really is a cycle of beating myself up constantly until I get that next fight contract.
Yep. I know my fight camps were bad enough that I would weigh myself like 3 times a day, and it would compromise what I was going to eat for supper, or if I'm going to push it back a little bit farther.
Right.
Yep. It's just, again, it's just a vicious cycle, and you have to really keep yourself in check. In like a lot of my wrestlers, this was my first year coaching a girls team, and it's the same. You see it in them too, and how they're trying to do things, and it's just like it's hard. I feel like it's harder seeing it from the outside, and so it's like right. For myself when I'm doing it, it's more acceptable. Right. My girlfriend, I'm like, don't.
Are you trying to change that culture with them and kind of teach them better ways to cut weight? Because I know with the wrestling world, there's like one way it's always been done. So are you trying to change that with these girls that you're working with now?
Oh yeah, and that part, it gets hard because kids are so stubborn and they want to listen to their teammates instead of their adults or people who actually know what they're doing and stuff. So it's just, I'll give my advice, and I try to push that and tell them, like, do this ahead of time and stay consistent instead of, the week of trying to, cut so much and bouncing down and stuff. So yeah, I do try to instill healthy habits into them and kind of give them knowledge of what's real. And actually, during my English class, because I taught English, I would give them little like tidbits of knowledge here and there of just nutrition, just value, because kids don't know. Like people don't know. They don't know what's healthy and what's not.
And I took over my Muay Thai coach. He has since moved to Dallas. I took over for him. I was lucky enough that, he believed in me to take over for him. So I'm not only teaching kids now, I work with adults. That's awesome. I tried really hard, even with just my teammates. So like my peers that I've trained with since day one, I try and like, hey, you guys don't have to cut weight like this anymore. Let me help you. Like I've got a program that I plug in all this different information, and it will say, okay, your body burns this much just by existing. You're trying to reach this weight by this date. So these are what your macros need to be every day for this long to get there. And so I'm trying to give them this information, and it's so hard for them. Like, oh no, I know how to cut weight. Okay, well, that's why I see you dying on the floor the day of weigh-ins. Like, and I'm walking in just all jaunty and happy to be there. Like, there's a better way to do it. And it's so hard, especially as a female coach and instructor. These are people that used to train with me, and now I'm instructing. And so they don't see me as anyone who knows anything more than them. Like they don't see me. And as a female, and these guys are men, they don't trust me. It's been really hard to get through that barrier just as a female coach. And so I'm really lucky that my class right now, it's mostly newer people, and they're all willing to listen and learn from me. And I love it. And people are finally starting to realize that I kind of know a few things. I've had a few guys use my weight cut method, and they're like, holy cow, thank you. I've been to a couple big promotions, and people, like, they needed someone to wrap hands, and they're looking at me like, oh crap, you're like last resort. But then I wrapped 8 people through 2 events, and all of them were like, wait, that was actually really good. Thank you so much. And so I'm like, okay, once I'm given a chance, people realize that I can do the job, but getting people to give me that chance is really difficult as a female. And I'm sure as a coach, you experience a lot of that same thing. Luckily you work with girls, so that's a plus.
Yeah. No, on that, I've been to gyms, and there have been some people who it's like, I will give them that knowledge. I will tell them something. Like one of the guys was drinking distilled water all the time. And I was like, no, you don't need to drink that. That's old. Those are old methods and stuff. Like you're like flushing your electrolytes out.
Mhm.
And then months later, he was like, "Oh yeah, I found out that drinking distilled it flushes you out." I'm like, I freaking said that, dude. I was like, okay, whatever. What do I know? And just everything. Or like, hey, you need to eat carbs right now because
Yeah.
that's fueling you. Like, why are you taking this out? You still have a whole month ahead of you. You need to take, stuff like that.
That's such a big one.
Oh,
Yes.
it's a huge one. Yeah. Yeah. And it's just like, I don't know. And there's so much knowledge out there. It's not hard. Like go on. I try to listen to, podcasts and like Fight Dietitian, a lot of Stacy Sims, like a lot of, doctors, Jolene Brighton, like all these like people, there's a podcast out there. There's information out there that you can learn nutrition and how to treat your body and what's going on with it. The information's out there.
Right. And like that's what I'm going to school for. Like I'm certified as a nutrition coach. So obviously I've had to done some degree of education on it. I will be done next year with my bachelor's in exercise science. Like this is what I go to school for. And still people look at me like I don't know what I'm talking about. And I'm not going to say I know everything. And there's a lot of people out there that act like they know things and they don't know jack shit.
Oh God.
Like I feel like I've got a decent knowledge base about things, but getting people to trust that I know some things is insane.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's a good time to start wrapping it up.
Yeah, we have to start again.
That's great. This went by so fast.
I know.
Well,
I was just saying, she was like, we don't got to do hours anymore. We can do like 30, 40 minutes.
Well, I'm really excited you came on and talked with us because as soon as we discussed this idea, I knew right away. I was like, we got to get Sarah on here. So thank you so much for coming on with us.
Yeah, thank you. You guys made it easy too. And so I had something, my parents' alarm was going off. It was like,
I was just going to ask, what is that background noise?
I was like, oh, sorry. Yeah, and the dog like licking herself and stuff. I'm like, oh, sorry.
It's official. You suck.